Welcome back, my beautiful people, to STR News and Digest, where we cover what's happening in the world of short-term rental, travel, and the business of hospitality. You guys gotta try this. Before I begin, I want to give a quick shout out to several of my followers that hit me up on WhatsApp with some great questions. If I have time, I'm going to answer one of them or maybe two of them on this live stream because I think they're not the only ones that were asking or have doubts about these specific questions. And it relates to, as a new short-term rental operator, where should your focus be? And I'm going to try to address that. So Lorena, if you can make a note, I'm going to make a note right here. If to remind me if we don't go too long on this podcast. I have a lot I want to cover. Majority of it is Airbnb related, as meaning the company itself, and some of the legal wins that has been happening lately. So let me give you a quick rundown on some of the stuff I want to talk about. I want to talk about Airbnb's $90 billion claim. And as I just mentioned, their big win in Italy, which I'm very happy about. I actually made a comment and addressed a group of people during last week's Booking.com's event. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Let me make a note of that too, about that event. It was a really good event. I'm also going to talk about how extreme weather or natural disasters can actually help short-term rental operators. And it's funny because I just read an article on this, and this is something that, being from South Florida, I already knew. And I'm going to touch on that in a little bit, so stay tuned. But let me begin with real quick. Let me give you a quick update. As you can tell, I am in the Vineyard. Real quick, give me one quick second. Let me see if I can bring this up. I'm at the Vineyard, and here's a quick update of what's happening here. We finally finished construction with everything, with the exception of the kitchen in the cottage. I thought that was going to be done this week, but it's not. It's delayed another week. But all three structures, the geodome, the barn, and the cottage, are pretty much done. The barn is the one, it's the furthest advanced because we already started furnishing the barn. We had a heck of a time. I want a king bed in all three of, the cottage, the barn, and the dome. I want a king bed. So, but I didn't take into account, then the barn is the second floor. So to take not the mattress could be kind of folded, but to take the box spring up was a challenge, and we almost did not get it up there. I was a little afraid that it was not going to happen. We did kind of damage the wall a little bit, but it's an easy fix, a little putty and some new paint. The wall is fine. But anyways, we got the bed up there. So that's done. And it is, so all the grapes all the vines, grapevines, are blooming. I mean, it's going to be a great harvest this year. I mean, we have tons of grapes growing. They should be ready. I think by the end of July or in July, they should start to ripe and be ready to pick so that we can sell them in August. But what's already ranked and we're already picking them are our blackberries. And the other thing about our blackberries is not only do we have a variety of blackberries that we planted this past winter, but if you recall, if you are a subscriber to this channel and you follow me consistently, you know that we have tons of wild grapes and blackberries and raspberry. The wild ones, when we created the path, unbeknownst to us, we discovered tons of blackberry. I actually have a video, and I'm going to post it on my Instagram. It'll probably be posted tomorrow, but definitely on my Instagram and on my threads. So if you're not following me on Instagram or on my threads, and I recommend you do, especially if you're interested on the progress of this property. I mean, I can't express the satisfaction, the love that I have for this property. And there's something that I learned a long time ago. Hard things or things that become difficult, things that are challenging, and that you overcome these challenges, you have a tendency to appreciate those things a lot more. By far, taking on this project on this vineyard has been one of the most difficult challenges that I've embarked on in a very long time. Excluding my time in the military, which that was challenging in and of itself. But here it was challenging both physically, mentally, because everything here is brand new to me. Were there mistakes made? Hell yeah. Did I almost get killed on one of the machines? Yes, I almost got killed on one of the machines trying to create these mountain bike paths or mountain bike trails. But extremely satisfying. It's a labor of love. I really love this property. And I think once we're ready, when you come visit here and you stay in either the geodome, the barn, or the cottage, I think you appreciate not only the work that myself and my staff have done here, but you're going to appreciate the beauty, the tranquility, the peacefulness that's here. And if you come during harvest time, you have the ability to go take a hike and pick your fruit for your breakfast in the morning or your snack in the midday. So I'm super excited about that. So that's the update here. Again, my goal was to be live, do the grand opening in the fall. I think we're going to be able to do that much sooner. Although, the grand opening will still be in the fall. We'll do a soft opening in the summer. But people, it is freaking hot. It is hot here in the summer. But anyway, so let me talk about the booking.com event that I was invited to be a guest speaker on. That event was in Miami. It was called Click. The theme of the event was Click. It was by invitation only. And the people that were present there were all either on the short-term rental side of the house or on the hotel side of the house. It was broken down by regions. And it was a phenomenal event. Unfortunately, because of my schedule, I did not get a lot of time to partake on a lot of the activities and sit in on some of the webinars, some of the speeches that were given by guest speakers, because the last 3-4 months, have gone by like that. It's a blur to me because I've been extremely busy. So my part of I was invited to talk about the integration between booking.com and a PMS system, right? Property management software systems that are attached to booking.com, and to speak on my experience with booking.com in general. And I got to tell you, I was brutally honest on that panel, both as it relates to booking.com as an OTA, and I was extremely critical on the hotel industry in general, but more importantly on short-term rental operators themselves. And briefly, I'll go over a couple of things that was discussed there on my part, and some of the stuff that was discussed by some of the other panelists there. But the idea was to give an honest take on how the progress that Booking has done as it relates to the relationship with short-term rental operators. Now, if you've been in the industry for some time, especially longer than 3 to 4 years, you know that in the beginning, the connections between a PMS system, or even if you did not have a PMS system, but you were advertising on booking.com, you had issues. Myself as a company, we had a lot of issues with booking.com in the very beginning, mainly with fraud. If a booking.com reservation came in, it was a running joke within our company that, probably 3 out of 5 booking reservations, we're going to have some issues. Either a chargeback, the person that booked it used a stolen credit card, or the guest was just going to be a bad guest, right? And for a time there, myself and I'm sure many other short-term rental operators were constantly reaching out to booking.com and asking them to improve their process. And thankfully they did. And I was honest in this panel. I told them all the negatives that I had with booking.com, but I was also very, I gave them kudos and props when they were due. And specifically the last year, they have done a phenomenal job, not only integrating with PMS systems around, but specifically with my PMS system, which is Hostfully. Our integration with booking.com now it's much easier. We can communicate off our platform. We can create new listings off our platform, and we can charge and vet our guests off our platform, which were things that we couldn't do before. Anyway, it was a great event, but here's where I hammered short-term rental operators and the hotel industry. And I'm going to touch on a story about the hotel industry in a second. But if you are a short-term rental operator, and this is what I told everyone there, we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard than we're currently holding ourselves to. We are our worst enemy. We have to be professional. And I'm going to go into, if you follow my STR News and Digest from last week, I talked about how Spain, for example, forced Airbnb to deplatform a crazy amount of properties. If the number serves me correctly, it was between 51 and 61,000 listings in Spain were deactivated. Why? Because these listings were not compliant to their new regulations, or they had too many issues, and Spain forced Airbnb to delist them. Go back further. I talked about probably about 6 months ago. I talked about how Airbnb themselves purged thousands of listings. There were substandard listings. I believe if you had a 4.2 rating or less, you were gone. That is happening now with Vrbo and Booking.com. They have implemented the exact same, and let me see if I can find this article real quick so I can speak of it from authority. And guys, if you have any questions as we're going along, do me a favor, list them below so that Lorena can pass them on to me and I can answer them during this live stream. And again, for those that are watching live, thank you for watching live. I see on YouTube, we have 8 people on YouTube. I don't know how many on Facebook or Instagram, but usually we have a larger number of people on Facebook and Instagram. So again, thank you for watching. Do me a favor, say hi in the comment. Let me know you were watching. I want to know who's watching. But going back to Booking.com and Vrbo, right? they have also begun the process of delisting properties that are non-performing. Again, the rate, if you are a substandard property, you're going to be delisted. Me personally, I welcome this because the great majority of short-term rental operators do a phenomenal job and they work their asses off. This job isn't easy. They work very hard to provide a great guest experience. But just like in any profession, a bad apple will make us all look bad. And currently, we're starting to see that cities, countries are not putting up with that crap, and they're either forcing OTAs to take you off the platform or they're penalizing you for that. Now, let's go to on that same note. Last week, we talked about Spain forcing Airbnb and other OTAs to delist non-compliant properties. British Columbia jumped on that bandwagon. Just recently, as of June 2nd, British Columbia has mandated Airbnb to cancel all non-compliant, meaning all short-term rental properties that are on their platform that do not have a provisional registration number available. That number is a registration number that British Columbia gives short-term rental operators to show that they are compliant and have been registered. So it's quite a few people. There's a lot. And according to British Columbia, they're giving them up until June 23rd to deplatform these properties that do not have that registration number. And apparently it's a big number. All right, let's move on to a big win. And I'm going to actually read this. I talked about this last time. If you follow this channel, here's another thing, people. I'm having an issue with my Starlink. I don't know if it's the time of day or what, but I know the quality of the video isn't great, but we're going to take this video off once I go live stream, and then we're going to fix it and then repost it. So if you missed something, you have an opportunity to watch it again in a second, shortly after we get off here. So now let me read the article on Italy. So let me recap. If you remember, if you follow this channel, Italy put one of the dumbest rules I've ever heard of, and they banned remote check-ins, meaning they required every reservation or every host to meet every guest during their check-in process. That happened in Rome, right? Well, let me read. A major regulatory shift has just unfolded in Italy, one that echoes far beyond Rome, Florence, and Venice. On May 27, 2025, the regional administrative courts, again, a group of hosts along with the Tourist Association sued. I'm going to read this and I'm going to tell you why this is super important for all of us, right? Struck down a controversial government directive that banned remote check-ins for short-term rentals. The decision is not just a win for hosts, it's a global signal about how courts are beginning to balance security, innovation, and practicality in the short-term rental market. People, I need you, if you're a short-term rental operator, listen up, because this is extremely important. I'm very passionate about this. You guys need to be extremely, extremely proactive within your community and, more importantly, within your government, right? Here's a prime example. I endlessly talked about the issue in New York and what happened in New York as a result of the New York City Commission overstepping their bounds and what happened there. But this is a huge win. Why? Because it signals to other governments that they can't just blindly target short-term rentals. And here's the big thing. I said this before because I always ask the question, when these rules are in place, number one, why are they in place? And number two, who's behind these regulations? And one of the big players, and I said this before, I speculated on this, but it's coming to be true, hotel lobbyists, and this is one of the big things that I talked about during that booking.com conference, and I brought receipts with me. Hotel lobbyists are lobbying these governments to restrict short-term rentals because they're the ones pushing this fake, unsubstantiated agenda that short-term rentals are the reason for housing crisis, right? They're also saying the short-term rentals are the reason for over-tourism. Definitely not true, right? So, and like I said, I bought receipts because when you go to a government hearing, and I've been to many, one of the first things you need to, when you present your case, you have to show why you're presenting your case, and you can't just complain. You have to provide solutions, which we did. Anyway, it was a great win for those guys that fought this in Italy. I tip my hat off to you. Thank you for fighting the good fight. And if you're a short-term rental operator, please, 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 please take part in your community. Be very proactive in your community. And more importantly, take an active role in your government commission hearings because you don't want these stupid, unsubstantiated, heavy-handed regulations coming into the short-term rental industry. All right, let's move on to the next story. Let's move on to the big one, the insight of Airbnb. The Airbnb. So Airbnb, for the first time, they're constantly putting out projections of their financial status. But this one here is different, right? Airbnb states that last year they took part in a $90 billion economic, or Airbnb had a $90 billion impact on the economy. And I'm going to read right off the news release. In May 2025, Airbnb released a sweeping analysis of its economic impact across the U.S. in 2024, claiming over $90 billion in activity. 1 million plus jobs supported, and $25 billion in tax revenue was generated. The figures are headlining, or these figures are, eye-opening, right? And they've done this before, but for the first time, they brought receipts. They named names, right? At a commissioned economy study by Charles River Association, that study clearly identified hotels as the primary beneficiary of STR restrictions, framing them as lobbying-backed incumbents. Okay, huge study, right? And as I mentioned before, this is bringing receipts to the hotel lobbyists, lobbying these government entities, pushing for stricter regulation. Now, I am anti-regulation, but I am not totally against some regulation. It is the overstepping of governments is where I have a big issue. If there's going to be a regulation for one, it should be a regulation for all. And STRs were being singled out in Rome, for example, hence why they won, right? So, and here's some of the impacts, right? The report model was what STR activity could have been in New York, Boston, New Orleans, and Philadelphia are some of the cities that adopted medium and light regulations instead of severe restrictions. That's key for understanding how regulation shifts just shrink the economy opportunity, right? Again, New York City went heavy-handed. Big study was done what kind of impact that heavy-handed played in the economy, and it showed and it proved that it did not work or did not have the intentions that the commission in New York City had intended to. In fact, it did the opposite. Hotel rates skyrocketed, rents still went up, and there was still a shortage of rental properties, right? If you want more rental properties, you have to deregulate and you have to provide opportunities for investors to invest in your community. I don't understand why that concept is so hard to grasp. So let's continue with this study. Inside the $90 billion study, right? This alignment with Airbnb's broader strategy seemed in previous years, like its $19 billion EU impact report. But this study goes further. It warns that overregulation is not just affecting hosts, it is swallowing up cities' tax base or hollowing the tax base, right? Again, I'm going to use myself as an example. In Fort Lauderdale alone, last year we generated $2.9 million in revenue, tax revenue that the city of Fort Lauderdale was a beneficiary of. And I'm just one person, one company, right? There's thousands of companies out there. If you start squeezing this segment of the economy out, it's only going to hurt the tax base, not going to help it. So anyway, I'm going to get off this topic because like I said, I really get upset about it. Let me see what else I want to talk about. I kind of briefly touched on this. There was a report that came out in terms of natural disasters and how natural disasters have been a huge driver in revenue for short-term rental operators. As a person that operates in South Florida, hurricanes are, they're just part of business, part of life for us. And as I talked many times before, last year when Tampa, Naples, when they got hit heavily with the two hurricanes that hit the West Coast, we saw an influx and a stronger need for short-term rentals in South Florida because people got displaced. Now, that's a huge plus for us. But please, people, don't, and I said this before, I'm going to say it again, don't take advantage of these people. And if you want to increase your prices because of demand, I get it. But you shouldn't be, increasing it by 100%. You shouldn't be doubling, tripling your rates during someone's time of crisis. Let's be helpful. You're still going to make money because your property is going to be booked. And again, if you want to increase it a little bit, by all means, increase it a little bit. Just don't judge people. Again, let's be professional. Let's be helpful. That's going to be it. I want to talk about, the last thing I'm going to talk about is going to be two quick reminders. If you go to my Dream Vacation website, right now we're giving away an Italy vacation for two. Just go on there. You can enter to win that. But let's see what, I'm not going to be able to get on here. My Wi-Fi is just horrible. So I'm going to owe you the deals. This is going to conclude this STR News. For those that hung on, because I see there's a bunch of you that stayed on, thank you for staying on. Once again, do me a favor, leave a message in the comment. I love you guys, and I will see you on the next one.